Okay, this will be a demonstration of how to add a new volunteer to the AwanaTracker system. The first thing that we'll do is log in, and you'll get to a screen that looks very similar to this. Your home screen may have a few less buttons depending on your access, but if you have access to add a new volunteer, you should see that down at the bottom, add new volunteer. So what we're going to do first is we're going to check to make sure that the volunteer that we're going to add is not already in the system. So we can do that by clicking on the volunteer list report, which is up the page just a little bit. So we'll click on that. And right now, by default, this does not come up with a report, but if you click on role title, it will come. This will be enhanced in the future. So we'll click role title, and now we see all of the volunteers that are in the system sorted by what their role is. So we're going to be adding Alyssa Pauls, and she is a AAA desk volunteer. So if we look in that section, we only see Julie and Tammy in there, so we know that she's not in the system, and we do need to add her. If you wanted to check across all of it, you could just do a quick search as well, just to make sure, and they're not in there. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to click home, and we're going to go back to the add new volunteer. And on this page you can see that there are a few fields that are highlighted in red. These are the required fields and the ones that need to be populated before we can continue. You'll see that after they're done, that this add volunteer button will highlight and you'll be able to click it. So let's start by entering her first name and her last name, and then we'll select the gender, and then in the selected volunteer roles you'll see that there's a series of different roles. I'll run through each of those quick. The first is a coach, is a spiritual coach who sits with the kids, meets one-on-one. A captain is somebody who leads a group of kids, a group of coaches. A super user, there should really be very few of these users that we create. So this should be somebody who's either very knowledgeable about the app or is just in charge for the night. But again, very few users should have this because they'll have access to everything. The next one is games, and these are the volunteers who help with games. The visitor desk are volunteers who help at the visitor desk checking in kids, so they'll have access to do the visitor check-in and adding a visitor and things like that. The next one is check-in. For this one is actually only for the iPad check-in stations, so we won't create any volunteers that have this access. This will only be used for those iPads. The live, that's anyone who helps with live. The AAA desk is anyone who helps at the AAA desk, so this will be people that are helping to update information for users, to answer questions, to track awards, things like that. And then finally, general is somebody who only needs to check in for the night, but we don't need to have them have any other access. So this is somebody potentially that works in the security, setup, cleanup, those kinds of roles. So Alyssa is a AAA desk, so I will select AAA desk. And then I'll go down to the bottom. The username, what we have been doing as a default is to use the first letter of their first name and then their last name all as one word. Now, in some cases, we have husband and wife combinations or siblings that have the same first letter and last name, and in those cases, we're doing the full first name, full last name, all as one word. But in this case, we should be okay. So I'm going to put EPUHLS, and then we're going to give her a password that we set by default. And she can go in and change that then when she gets access. So we'll click Add Volunteer, and we see that the volunteer was added successfully, so that is all that we need to do.